Welcome back to Vader TV and our conversation with Steve Larsen, the co-founder and CEO of Krugle. Steve, you talked about a very interesting thing just a moment ago as to why entrepreneurs like to invest in early stage companies. You guys have money from Pierre Omidyar, and talk about the type of person who does well in an early stage startup and the type of person who wants to invest in it, and what some of the factors are.
Well, one of the things that's really, I think, most compelling about early stage companies, and the reason that people invest there, is because it's where the innovation is. Innovation happens in early stage companies. The reason that it happens is because of the constraints that are inherent in startups. And constraints breed creativity. If you think about it, early stage companies don't have enough money, they don't have enough people, and they don't have enough time. And it's that constraint. So how do you solve problems when you don't have that? Larger companies have all those things in spades. They've got time. Right. They've got money. They've got people.
They don't tend to have to create the innovation.
Right. And they're searching around. They have big conferences on how to get innovation. Mm-hmm. Innovation happens in early stage companies. You don't have any choice. And one of the things that I look at when I'm talking about, do you belong in a small company? Do you have the personality that will work in a startup? I explore people's reaction to working in an environment where you don't have enough time, money, or people. Mm-hmm. And if their attitude is one of, we've got to figure out how to solve this problem in this time frame with what we've got, then they're probably cut out for a startup. If they want to complain about the fact of how do we get more money, how do we get more people, how do we get more time, mm-hmm. then they're probably not cut out to be in a startup. They probably belong in a larger organization.
Right. Now, what about the investor side? What type of investor? Is it usually someone who has been in a small startup, or someone who has a knack of spotting, where the innovation is likely to come from in a market?
When they've looked back at how and why our winners were successful, mm-hmm. that was one common trait. They put good people in an environment, and they didn't give them enough money right. to execute on their idea. And they gave them a very short period of time, not enough money to get there, so they had to do it very, very quickly. So that was one formula. And I think another formula I've heard is that companies where you've got a founder and a CEO that get along. If you have a good relationship between the founder and the CEO, your odds of success go up dramatically.
When you say the founder, you mean the engineering side?
Oftentimes, you'll match a technical founder right. Who doesn't have experience building companies with a CEO who does have experience building companies, and it's the relationship between those two people that oftentimes is a characteristics of the companies that have been most successful.
Okay. Steve, you've been in 4 different startups, so we got to take those words of wisdom and believe them. And we'll see. Have you guys applied those at Krugle in terms of who you want to hire?
Yeah, we have. And I think one of the things that we first did in involving the company, Ken Krugler and I, my co-founder, were brought together by Brian Jacobs at Emergence Capital. Mm-hmm. Brian had invested in where I was a founder or CEO in both Big Fix and in Net Perception. So he knew me and he knew how I worked. And then Ken Krugler was a fraternity brother with his at MIT. Mm-hmm. And so when Ken came to him with an idea, he said, listen, good idea. We don't invest in ideas, we invest in companies. Steve Larsen can help you take your idea and build it into something that could be a company. So Ken and I then spent 3 weeks together before we'd done anything, just really vetting each other with our friends. Mm-hmm. And I took him around to all my technical buddies to say, is he really any good? And he took me around to all of his business buddies and said, so what did you think of him? Is he a good guy?
Sort of like a trial dating period.
Yeah, exactly right.
Before the marriage.
Yeah, exactly right. That's exactly what we did. And once we knew that we could work together, we trust each other, there was honesty, integrity, and we had a way of communicating each other when we agreed and when we disagreed, then we knew the chemistry was right. The next thing was basically defining who was going to do what part of the company. And of course, from Ken's point of view, the success of the company is 80% dependent on the product and how good it is and how it works. And I just worry about the 20%, which is the funding and the hiring people and getting the office right. Yeah, that's my 20%, and he's responsible for the 80% of why we're really going to be successful.
Okay, so it sounds like it's been a good formula for you guys.
It's been a great formula.
Okay, Steve, thanks so much for the thoughts.
Thanks, John.
Been speaking today with Steve Larsen, co-founder and CEO of Krugle. For Vader TV, this is John Chennault.